Hello.
Oh, hey.
It's Tears.
And our favorite dog mom, Corey Richmond.
Hey, dog mom.
Hey, dog mom.
It's me. I got one dog right here, other dog right here.
So many dogs.
We're here ranking the bosses of Tears of the Kingdom. I'm pretty excited
Tears
about
tier.
because I haven't. We're gonna be past the 1 year anniversary of the game.
Yeah.
Probably by the time this comes out. So I haven't played the game at all since we beat it and talked about it. So it's gonna be I don't know. It's gonna be kind of a trip down memory lane in a different way than I feel like the Zonai devices were. Because those I think of these little moments where these are these big, more set piece, standout moments. So
for sure.
A lot more. I don't know. It's pretty exciting stuff to talk about.
And
I watched through all the boss fights just to get a little refresher.
Yeah, that video you shared with us, that's what I was using to watch through today while I was definitely not working. And it was really fun to kind of go back and be like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, I've got it here too. I'm gonna be basking in some of them as we talk about it.
I did go back and watch my reaction to a few of these bosses as well because I have my full playthrough saved, and so I kind of used those as being like, what did I think about this? What was my first initial reaction? I have it on camera, so I went back and I actually checked. So
I should have watched. We talked about all of them in our videos.
That's true. We could have. If you want to know what we thought about him at the time, go watch the other videos we did.
I can't guarantee. I feel this way about everything. I can't guarantee that I won't contradict something I said before. 100%. Because it is a year later. So
I feel like I feel pretty similarly about most of the bosses as when I did in the first place, for the most part.
You know what? The one thing that I'm I wish I would have thought about a little bit more is I didn't think about the music as much. There's a couple of them where the music is so standout. All of them, the music is really good, but there's a couple that I don't remember the tracks as much as I do some of the more bosses that I've played a million times in the series.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to talk about it. Do we want to totem?
Let's just dive right, or let's totem time.
Let's totem time.
All right.
Let's ultra hand this tower together and then totem.
We're gonna hold on like we're in a disaster movie, and we'll totem and hopefully we don't fall.
All right, totem time in 3, 2, 1.
Well, we're okay.
I think we're good. We're good. We got it. Good job. We made it.
Addison's like, how did you do that?
Get it? Oh, we should. Wow. I wish we had a whole graphic of Addison trying to hold us up.
Oh, yes.
All right, surprise. We're actually rating Addison signs today. Okay. All of them.
I like the second one.
Okay.
The second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one.
Why don't, McKenna, maybe you should start us off.
Yeah.
Let's go Master Kohga.
Master Kohga.
Okay.
It's nice.
That boy right here.
We kind of grouped these all.
Yeah, we grouped. There's 3. I think there's 3, right?
Yeah, right.
3 or 4.
4.
There's
3 vehicles and the the wrestling match, boxing match, whatever.
Oh yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, that's kind of like the grand finale. Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, that's a bit strange because I feel like I think of I guess the construct you're writing the construct, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's actually a different. The seized construct battle is a different boss fight.
Oh, okay.
That's the one where that's how you finish the spirit temple. Is you go in and Minoru's like, oh, this is the construct that I built a bajillion years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on how you play the game.
Yes. Got it. The one where you knock. He's like Robotnik style, sitting in the construct. Yeah. Okay.
I did fight against him.
For the Kohga one.
The construct.
With the construct?
I used Minoru.
And you did the same thing?
Kind of.
Basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I did that Minoru like after like pretty much everything. So I didn't really have that one until later. I think
the main difference is that like the Minoru one, which is also on this list, is like the entire floor is covered with like the malice, icky, goopy stuff. So you have to be in the construct. Whereas with the Kohga one, you can be outside of it and you just have to knock him into the wall and then he flies out and you wail on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would say this is actually a pretty cool fight. Like I like the different, like obviously the vehicle gimmick. Each stage is really fun, but then just the final battle itself too is its own like unique, fun like Zelda boss fight. I think
it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I think it's really cool the way that it's like, because this is obviously you fight him multiple times throughout his whole side adventure thing, but the whole point is that like the Yiga have all their little construct and like apparatuses and vehicles and stuff. They're schematics, the Yiga schematics. So each time you fight them in a different thing, and you have to find a way to either use your surroundings. Like in the third one, there's a boat, and you can get on a little like hover boat thing and
so frustrating.
Chase after them.
Yeah, I really like how
I think it's really fun.
The main feature of Tears of the Kingdom, the like building these vehicles, you had to fight someone else who was doing this because there's a little bit of other characters making vehicles, but
it's fun, and it's always fun when he pops out and head plants into the ground, and then you just whack him on his booty. Every time.
I also like all the Master Kohga fights spread through the depths made me feel like the depths was its own huge dungeon that you completed throughout the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's
interesting. I kind of incrementally did that too. Like I would uncover a region and be like, okay, like this has a Kohga quest or whatever, so let's go down there. I didn't do as much depths. I would only pick it off at a time. So it was kind of fun to like keep revisiting the fight as it goes on,
Yeah. These Master Kohga, the boss fight theme for this one is a banger too.
Oh, it's so good. It's so much
very
fun.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So where are we thinking?
Well, I want to reveal something to you guys. So I created my own scale for every single one of these. Now, I rated every single thing on 5 different factors and gave it a total score. Because I wanted to really break these down because I feel like I haven't really thought about the boss battles enough. So I wanted to like look deep inside and figure out what the boss battles really meant to me. So every single one of these I rated personally on a scale from 1 to 5 for fun factor, epic factor, musicality, memorability, and wead.
Oh, the classic wead.
It has to be part of wead. So
you need wead in the boss fights too.
Wead for me, it was like leading up, like finding the boss, like the discovery, the way it went into the story. Like that's what the wead is for me. Mm-hmm. Memorability is like how fondly do I look back on it and be like, oh yeah, that boss battle. Musicality is pretty obvious. This one got a 5, big surprise. Epic is just like pretty straightforward. How big and cool and like showy it was. And then fun, did I have fun playing it? This one scored a 20 out of 25 overall. All of Kohga's battles.
That's pretty good.
I would say
pretty dang good.
I would say it's like high A tier boss. Just overall Kohga. I really like the Kohga battles in general.
Mm-hmm.
But curious.
I think my ranking scale is vibes.
As always,
I'm gonna say A. It's an A tier. It's really good. It's not like the best in the game, but I think very fondly upon all each little part of it, each little phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I would say A as well. Funny enough, I had like 3 factors. I didn't go full out like ranking everything, but I was mostly thinking like difficulty played a part in mine, but other than that, it was like fun factor and like exciting factor.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of like epic at the same time. And like this is pretty solid for all of them. I mostly think it's really fun. It's not crazy epic because you're just kind of fighting him. Except for the last one. The last one's super epic. The other ones are just kind of him strolling around in a machine. But like they're very fun and they make you utilize what you have at your disposal. And sometimes he puts up shields to like block arrows and stuff, so you can't just fully cheese it, even though these eyeballs make almost any fight super easy.
Yeah.
But very fun. I would agree with that.
A tier it is.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
A for awesome.
A for Kohga.
A for awesome. A for yeah.
Oh, I also want to say it was cool to see a follow-up to Master Kohga's story from Breath of the Wild. Like,
very true.
We all went into Tears of the Kingdom knowing that there was like an underground, but we didn't realize it would be the whole thing. Like, I remember everyone being like, why didn't they talk about this? Like, and I think it's because they wanted it to be a surprise, and they wanted it to be like, wow, look at this cool whole extra layer of the world you get to explore. And a big part of it was Kohga and the Yiga clan. And that was very cool to see that follow up.
Kohga's actually like, is Kohga Kohga's not part of the main story, is he? Like part of the main quest?
He does have a main quest.
Okay.
Getting the auto build is a main quest.
Yeah, okay.
And then I think after that, is that still main quest?
Do you have to, are you supposed to like find out from him that Ganondorf is in the depths?
That's what I was thinking. I think what's her name? The girl,
Joshua.
Joshua. Yeah, I think she tells you to. Yeah. You know, I don't know if it's directly about Kohga, but go to like.
Mostly all of these bosses are like story encounter bosses. So there's probably also other like we didn't include overworld bosses like it, you know.
Yeah, that's not like it's
Hinoxes and Lionels.
Those are mini bosses anyway.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think I think too, like epicness can be good, but there are some good bosses that are just like, I guess not in this game. They're all epic in a way, but I like a more intimate boss fight too. You know, more private boss fight.
Oh, good.
Yeah, private room. Take out the weapons and just beat each other up.
Light also, the candles.
Light the candle. Put on some music.
Kohga kind of having an ending that's similar to the Breath of the Wild ending, where he kind of trolls himself, is also a great touch. So,
see, this is why I think
blasts off again.
Yeah, this is why the sequel to Tears of the Kingdom is going to take place in space.
We're
just following Kohga.
He blasts off again. Yeah,
it's Team Rocket.
What are we doing next?
I want to do Yunobo.
Yunobo, yeah. Let me find out.
I was pretty
clearly
jazzed.
Not himself, Yunobo.
Yeah,
that's his subtitle. Clearly not himself, Yunobo.
I just wrote him Yunobo with a question mark.
It's intimate, yeah. You're getting intimate with Yunobo. I was pretty jazzed about this part of the game. I was actually kind of disappointed, like the Yunobo didn't stay in his heal mode after you beat him, but.
This is the last time you see Yunobo. Super cool.
Yeah, he stops being cool. He starts complaining, "Why'd you do it?" or whatever.
He goes back to big old baby.
Starts asking you, "Why'd you do it?" all the time. It's like, get off my case, man.
This is a pretty like straight. It's actually kind of like one of the most classic types of boss fights, where it's like get out of the way of the thing. It's like every Rhino boss fight in a Spider-Man video game. Basically, but I mean, I kind of like it, but definitely like already, I think it's not as good as Kohga. So I think it's just like, to throw it up there lower. I think
you should have had to like wrestle him, Twilight Princess style, where he rolls at you and you catch him.
It felt like it was missing an aspect. Cool.
Yeah,
for sure. This is like, I think,
wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think this is one of the strongest for like set piece story stuff, because it's like he gets all mad, you see him talking with Zelda, and then he turns on you, and out of nowhere it's just like you're in a boss fight with your Yunobo, and it's like, what's going on here? This is wild. And like that is a classic boss fight thing, but it's so quick and very easy, and like that's not the worst thing in the world, but they could have made it way more fun than it was.
Well,
I think
it's not like it almost doesn't feel like, to be honest, like that it fully belongs on the list, because I don't know if it's meant to, like this section you already have another boss fight going to the dungeon, and then of course the dungeon has a boss. So
there's 3 boss fights in this section.
Yeah, I think it's more comparable to a mini boss almost. It makes me think of like when you go to Icona in Majora's Mask, like, and go to the dungeon and everything, you fight like a million sub bosses, you know?
Yeah.
He feels kind of like that, like a Gomez or something.
Or like getting up to Turtle Rock or something.
I mean, I think even those feel more like, yeah. I basically like, I was going off of, when I made this tier, I was going off of several lists, and they were all basically like, all of these, that's why I was bringing that up with Kohga, all of these are basically like, if you're following the storyline, they bring you through these technically boss fight encounters where they have like a title card and a health bar and stuff. So I think there also are other boss fights on this list that I totally agree. They almost don't even feel like a boss, but they're technically like part of that.
They're listed as a boss.
They're listed as a boss, but like, I think that I agree this should be lower, but what brings it up a little bit for me is that it's Yunobo, and it's very novel, and it's very like fun as a set piece type thing. But the fight itself it's almost nothing, you know?
It's almost like, it's similar to how there's like the different parts of the Kohga fights. It's almost like a part 1 to the other, like maybe even the final boss, or even Moragia or whatever it's called. So, but I don't know. I still think I like it. Like, I think fondly of it. It just doesn't even really compare as much as
I would propose. I would propose then, because like I agree that it's far and away worse than a lot of the boss fights on this list, but it's still fun and memorable. I would put it in C.
I would do that.
That would be my suggestion. Because I think there are a couple that are definitely worse.
Ooh.
Okay.
What do you think, McKenna?
I'll accept. Yeah, C tier's fine.
Yeah.
C is fine.
This did not score very well in my rating. It had a couple 1 out of 5s, like for fun factor. It's not very fun. I gave it a 1, but for Wead, I gave it a 5 because it's so ingrained in the story. Like, it just made sense.
Yes.
It's like, of course you have to battle him and get his little mask off. Like, it just made sense. But I don't think
Wead, a fight Yunobo is strong.
If we rank this based on like the humor level, it would be pretty high. There's some very funny boss fights in this game.
Even the music too, it's like it's got this familiar Goron instrumentation, but it's all like weird and wrong, and it's like it plays it like a joke, but it's still
those are the two that got the best score for me. It's music and it's Wead level. That's I think what this really has for it.
Since we kind of touched on it, this is one that I think is worse, but I don't know if I would put it a tier lower or not, so I want to hear what you all have to say. Let's just do Moragia next.
Oh, sure.
Because this is kind of like the follow-up to that.
Yeah.
And this is one where, similarly, it's like when this happens as a story moment, it's like you see the doppelganger Zelda walking into the Death Mountain crater, the whole thing erupts, and this giant crazy monster comes out into the overworld, and you're like, oh my god. And then you have the most boring boss fight where you just slowly float around in the sky with almost no threat. It reminds me of when you're entering Va Meadow and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're just floating around in the sky, getting to the points that you have to hit, and there's almost nothing to worry about. Like, they shoot things at you, but you really don't. You can shoot them from so far away. And even if you want to get up close, like, their projectiles are moving so slow that you just, I don't know. This could have been a crazy cool boss fight. And there are other boss fights. Like, I feel like this is a relatively novel concept, like having an aerial boss fight in The Legend of Zelda. Sometimes it's done terribly and sometimes it's done awesome. And I feel like it all hinges on how exciting it feels and how dangerous it feels. And this does not feel exciting or dangerous at all.
I would disagree in that it does feel exciting, but it does not feel dangerous.
Yeah.
Once you realize what's actually going on and you're like up in the air on that little the flying machine that was just very conveniently sitting there. Like, as you're going around, it's like, at first I was like, oh my God. And then after I got one hit on it and realized that just taking it out was going to be so quick, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I mean is, like, it's super exciting at first, like during the cutscene. And then once you start the actual fight and realize what you have to do, it's like, oh, okay.
That's one I'd be curious to see what I said, like, at the time, because when I think about it now, I just think about how cool and exciting that was. And I don't remember it being hard for sure, but I just kind of remember it being cool to
get
thing and fly around. So
it is a little strange how both Moragia and Yunobo are like very classic Zelda, like 3-hit bosses. Like, you can only do 3 hits. You can only hit it in the place that it allows you. Like, it's very like restrictive, old-fashioned Zelda boss style, which is kind of strange. Like that, and they're like the only 2 in the game that I can think of like that. I don't know why. Yeah. And they're like together.
Yeah. Well, so like, I guess the when I'm trying to compare these. The things that these 2 boss fights make me think of, like, when I think of the Yunobo boss fight, I think of the Link's Awakening little mini boss before you save Bow Wow. Like, there's that bull guy that you have to runs after you, and you got to get out of the way so he hits the wall, and then you can hit him and do stuff. And it's like, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple, but it's like a fun little romp. And it's almost more like an interactive cutscene type thing, as opposed to this, where it's like a giant monster comes out of the crater of Death Mountain, and I'm like, oh, this should be an epic and exciting boss fight. And it's, again, feels like an interactive cutscene. It feels almost the same as if 3 switches popped out of Death Mountain, and they were like, all right, hit these switches, and then you can go in. You know?
Okay.
That's what it felt like to me. So my proposal, I guess, I don't know if there's still another one that I dislike even more than this. So I don't know if my proposal would be either D or C. But what do you all
I think it's better than Yunobo.
Yeah, I would have put this in B, personally.
Yeah.
This like, one actually is the one that reminded me a lot of Link's Awakening, Turtle Rock.
Yeah.
Where you're going up to the dungeon.
Yeah, but I agree, but that's like Turtle Rock. That's what I wish it felt more like, because I've died to the Turtle Rock entrance before.
I'll give you that.
Because that thing like snaps at you, and that thing's a little dangerous, and it's got a lot of hits.
It's like a proper boss.
Whereas this
I wonder,
like, you just hit it 3 times.
If maybe they just didn't have a vehicle with enough maneuverability to make it like difficult, but still feel not like clunky or overly difficult.
The only other option I could really see is if they had done like a minecart boss, right? Like I think of like a Super Mario Sunshine attacking the Bowser at the theme park, right? Like going around the mountain and like,
is that Spirit Tracks?
Yeah,
it would be a lot. Yeah, but I'm glad they did it as flying, because that would have been sickening. but it's not hard, but it is fun. And I think it's very cool. And it just feels like a story element. Okay. It doesn't feel like a boss similar to Yunobo, but I do think it's better than Yunobo.
Okay. If you, I'm not sure. And Goo, you would propose B. McKenna, would you also propose B?
We can put it in C. That's fine. I feel like there's probably some better B contenders.
Yeah, that's the only reason I'm hesitant to put it in B isn't because of I feel that strongly about it. It's more that I think there are going to be several that are very clearly better than this, but not quite as good as Kohga.
Yeah.
Again, Yunobo and Moragia are of a similar vein. They again both feel like part one of like they all kind of complement each other in a weird way. Like one's you're fighting Yunobo, seeing his ability. This one you're like using it in the sky, and then you use it against the final boss, which is also pretty simple. I feel like, but I feel like that's probably the actual good version of that sort of mechanic, I guess, in a boss fight.
Mm-hmm. For the tier list, I think because it's so similar in like it's not the craziest fight, and it's like a 3-hit thing, and it's like an interactive cutscene type thing. I feel like it belongs with Yunobo in C.
That makes sense.
But if you all like it more, then we could do B. But
here's the thing: we can like it more and also put it in C.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah,
that's acceptable.
Yeah. I'm cool with that.
Well, why don't we just follow it up with the last one there and do Marbled Gohma?
Nice.
Which
I think better.
Yeah, like you just said, I think it's like you take these two, put them together, put it in an arena, and it's like you get a better boss. Just in general.
It's kind of a very simplest. It feels like it's
pretty basic.
It could be like in any Zelda game. It could be like the first boss you fight. You know. It's very Gohma. Like,
it's very Gohma. I mean, that's traditional.
But it's solid.
There are some very cool elements to the battle that I really like. For example, you can, it like traps you in a circle of stones. And it's fun to watch people their first time fighting Marbled Gohma, because you're like, what are they going to do to get out of this? You can use Yunobo, and he'll explode one of them, but then you can't use him immediately right after. So you want to reverse time and make it go up and out, which is like the better way to do it. And it's like, it's fun to like see people figure that out. Some people I've seen like throw bombs and like blow themselves up. And I'm like what, like there's so many ways you can try and do this. It is kind of a fun little like puzzle solving thing there. And then also shooting Yunobo up along the walls and like onto the ceiling is pretty fun. So it is a very basic boss, but there are elements of it that I think are like cool and very fun. It is very like hit the eyeball, it's dead, but there are some cute, like really fun things about it that I like a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly like the biggest like factor that I like about this is those little elements that you were talking about, especially where you have to like it's not a phase, it's kind of like a phase change where like it goes on the ceiling and then it's like, oh, I got to use the curved wall and shoot Yunobo all the way up. That's really creative.
It is a phase change, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And other than that, it is just a classic like blast the weak points, which then let you hit the eyeball, and it's very short and it's very easy. So this would be, I think, a perfect contender for B. This is like exactly what I was talking about, where it's more involved and more fun than those other two, but it's not quite as fun and varied as Kohga.
Yeah. It's kind of like using bomb shoes when you got to send them up the wall.
It is, yeah.
You don't do very much in the games they're in, so I kind of like...
You don't, but it's always very sasatisfying.
I know. Mm-hmm. B for bomb chew.
B for
bomb chew.
Marbled Gohma.
I feel like
Marbled Gohma.
Covered it.
Everything is covered. Yeah.
Got our B for bases covered.
Bases covered.
basic boss.
But good, classic.
Basic boss.
It got very average ratings on my scale. My total though, it did come out to a 19 out of 25, so it was pretty good. But
that's
pretty high. That's
still on the lower side for the total like average. All right, McKenna.
All right.
Let's see. Let's do Mucktorok.
Mucktorok? What a little guy. Hey, little guy. What are your thoughts on Mucktorok?
All right. I just want to get this out of the... I would like to go first, if you don't mind. Okay, I want to get this out of the way because when we first talked about this, I loved Mucktorok, and I still love Mucktorok. I think he's amazing. We need more bosses like this. He's incredible. I think he's S tier. Or A. He's high up.
Mm-hmm. McKenna, what are your thoughts?
I think he's hilarious. I love the concept. I don't necessarily love like actually doing the battle. It's probably my least favorite of the dungeon bosses, like
right in the heart.
The 4, 5 gameplay wise, but conceptually it's good. It does feel like a very humorous, it's got the goofy music, and
I do love the music.
He's a goofy little guy.
The shark is cool too.
The shark is very cool.
Shark is rad.
I have to say, this is unrelated, but I'm still very proud that one time I took a picture of Mucktorok and I gave it to Hudson to turn into a statue, and I got a T-posed shark out of it. And I have it, still have it in Terrytown. It's just T-posed shark, and I don't know why, because I took a picture of like the splash when it like comes out for the first time, and it's That's literally amazing. Just there like shark, and I love it. And that's my favorite statue.
I think when I first played it, I was like, I don't know. I like when I would have ranked it lower than now. And it's still, I think it is still probably like close to my least favorite of like the main bosses, I guess. But I like later, I think I was watching someone at the marathon or whatever, and it looked fun. And I was like, maybe I was doing something wrong, because I just felt like I was like, I think I said this in the video, like I was chasing it, which is part of the point, but I felt like it was to like not get like a few hits. It was like frustrating. Like I'd catch up to it and it would be like time for it to like go into shark mode again or whatever. And it just felt like more tedious than it needed. But then I saw someone else doing it, and I don't know what they did differently, but I was like, oh wow, that looked like a lot of fun. But I don't know. I still think I'd probably give it the edge maybe over Marbled Gohma, because there is a bit more to it or something. But when I think about the ones we haven't talked about, I think I like those fights more. So I would have gone B. But
yeah, I don't. Or those other. It doesn't have to be. I think I'll realistically say A, because like I actually also, it's not my favorite of the main dungeon bosses. I for sure like it at definitely one tier more than Marbled Gohma. I think for Nico, your weird factor, I think this is like off the charts, because it's like the whole region is like poisoned and weird and gross.
It got a 5.
And then you get up here and you're like, what is causing this horrible distress? And it's this little absolute freak.
It's just a weird little guy.
It's like, what is this guy doing? And then he turns into a big crazy shark, and it's scary. And like I like this fight specifically because it is like you have to catch him. And like you can do that in a variety of different ways. You can do like when he's jumping in between puddles, you can do like Keith's eyeball arrows. Or the cool thing is, I think what might be part of it is like it's like the anti-gravity area too. So you can like jump up and get yourself into bullet time. So I think you're supposed to like jump up in bullet time, like while he's diving, and like catch him mid jump between puddles, which I think is super sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like I remember using splash fruits a lot in this, but you can definitely use.
I accidentally used a couple sapphires.
Oh no!
There you go.
I know.
All right, put it in S. Put it in S.
No, whoa.
It doesn't have to be S. It doesn't have to be S because it's not.
It's like to put it in S.
I'm cool. I would be cool with A, definitely. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fun and the atmosphere is so good, and like this is one where you can make it so fun for yourself too. Yeah. Like it feels like, oh, I gotta catch him now.
I remember
atmosphere.
And then A for atmosphere.
The first time I saw him, I was like, oh, Zelda is back. We got weird little guys as bosses. Zelda is going back to its roots. I am so ready. I love weird little guy bosses.
Well, that's what's so funny about him too is that like they so clearly play him as this freaky little joke, because like even every time you hit him, he literally face plants on the ground and then like runs away.
He's got like Splatoon
and like every
energy,
time,
and I love that.
Yeah, every time he shoots muck out, his head gets all fat like a balloon and then like spits it out.
He's great,
and he makes a shark, which is like kind of scary but also kind of goofy.
Yeah,
looking.
it's actually kind of scary.
It's a scary, goofy shark.
Mucktorok is a nut.
Also, the name Mucktorok, like,
yeah,
that's a good.
Or silly.
Goo.
Let's do Queen Gibdo.
Ooh, okay. So for those watching, this is part 1 and 2 put together. The pre-battle, which is like almost nothing.
It's outside. You fight her similarly, but it's like not for a lot.
It's kind of like an intro to the boss, you know. So like, hey,
very cool for the dungeon. Jeez. Very cool for the Wead.
Off the chart Wead for Queen Gibdo, big time.
Big Wead energy for Queen Gibdo.
Big Wead energy.
the cool design too. I feel like the whole thing with the Gibdos, like how they kind of like reinterpreted them from just being like mummies to being like these weird insects, you know, like they're still like they kind of combined like different Zelda enemies, which they've done before, like how like certain bosses and enemies will kind of like shift into other ones and then back to you know where you kind of confuse them, and I thought that was cool, like a unique take on them. So I don't know,
it's almost like a Re-Dead Mothula hybrid thing.
Yeah, the moth aspect is very cool.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely feel like I like this one more than Mucktorok. But is it an S tier? I don't know.
What do you think, McKenna?
It could potentially. I mean, there are definitely ones that I'm thinking of for S tier that I would put above this. But I would definitely put it above Mucktorok.
Yes.
This one was fun. It was challenging. I really like the boss room that you're in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's got that
like
the stained glass kind of stuff. Or like,
yeah.
Got light coming from ceiling. Oh my gosh! When the Gibdos, if you don't take them down, they all start crawling at you during the fight.
Oh, yeah.
Can we also talk? This is the hardest. This is like one of the hardest boss fights that Zelda has ever had. Like, if you are not fully equipped, this is tough.
You got to be prepared.
Yeah, I think in at least 3D Zelda, this is probably one of the hardest.
Yeah, this is probably up there. Top 10 hardest 3D Zelda bosses.
Adriel fight Queen Gibdo at the marathon last year at like 2 a.m. was like the best thing ever.
So that's like a prime example. Like you need to be prepared. Like if you do this late game, you'll probably be okay. But like if you go straight here, this is your first dungeon, you're probably going to struggle a lot against Queen Gibdo. for sure.
Okay,
and
I have a thought. So we've acknowledged that the ones in C aren't bad. It's just not like boss. They're not intended in the same way. I can't think of anything that is worse than them. I think we should shift everything that's here down.
I think this
a
makes
tier
sense.
And put Queen Gohma in A, because I still think there's some that are a step above, and I think the marbled Gohma again is like, it's solid, which I feel like average works for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But is that, I don't know.
I think I keep Kohga in A.
Well, personally, I
just show you.
Just see how it looks. Oh, why is Mucktorok in B? So the reason that that doesn't resonate with me is because I think Queen Gibdo is actually like in my top 3 bosses in this whole game. So for me, Queen Gibdo is for sure just S tier. And my main reason for that is Queen Gibdo, just like as boss fights in this game go, it's very cool, it's tough, it's super atmospheric, you got multiple things you have to worry about. There are many different ways that you can go about it. Like you can use the light to stun her, or you can just use Riju's power and shoot her with lightning, or you can just use elemental damage and chip away at her. But what I really like about this is, for some reason, and maybe it is like that Mothiel element, but Queen Gibdo made me think of like in a Link to the Past style Zelda boss, where it's just like you're in a room with this big old beast and you just, there are ways that are more effective to kill them, but you just gotta beat them. You just gotta use what you have at your disposal and get their health down. You know, it's almost like a Helmasaur King type thing, because like Helmasaur King has the helmet, which you can get away with bombs or you can get away with the hammer, and then once that's gone, you got to hit the gem thing again. You can slash it with your sword, you can use your arrows, you can keep throwing bombs at it, you can use your hammer more. But the main thing is like you got to avoid this big scary beast and just chip away at it,
which is like combat focus, but in a open-ended way. Okay.
And Queen Gibdo is so much. Compare Queen Gibdo to Marbled Gohma. Marbled Gohma, you hit the weak points and then it falls completely helpless, and you just slash at its eyeball until the health goes down. Even when Queen Gibdo is stunned, that giant beast is walking around. You can't. There's never a point where it's like super easy to just wail away at this thing, because it's always trying to get away. It's always doing stuff, which I think is sick.
Say less. S tier. No, you're right.
Say less.
You've convinced me for sure.
I would say Queen Gibdo is an S tier for sure, 100%. But I would also agree that we should move things down, because I'm looking. I don't know if there's going to be anything a full tier below Moragia and Yunobo.
But I think if you want Mucktorok higher, we could put Mucktorok in A also.
Well, so let's do this, because it's my pick next. So let's put Queen Gibdo in S. Are we cool with that?
I would agree.
Yeah.
How did it rank for you, Nico? Your score.
Yeah.
On my scoring, Queen Gibdo got a 23 out of 25.
Okay. So,
I do have.
That's strong.
It is my 4th highest rated boss. I have 325 like perfect scores.
So,
but
before we address like Mucktorok, because like that's just, I have a personal fondness for Mucktorok. My pitch for the one boss that is worse than Moragia and Yunobo is Sludge Like.
Okay,
I agree.
I think that
Sludge Like.
You actually have to fight something.
Do you want to go first? You want me to do my?
Yeah, no, I'll fight for this. You actually have to fight it. It is an actual enemy that you have to attack. You have to avoid the sludge and do damage. It's not a walkthrough cutscene like Yunobo and Moragia. It is an actual battle.
Yunobo you have to do the dodging the wall thing, and then you still have to go up and like slash him.
You hit him one time and it does 1/3 of damage.
That's true. That's true. So the main reason I think Sludge Like is far and away the worst boss on this list is that it is literally a like that has one extra layer where you have to get it wet to get the sludge away before you can fight the regular like. This is literally just a glorified regular.
We got shift everything
enemy.
Back up, I think.
That's I think Sludge Like is the worst because it gets this whole cutscene and there are no fun wead factors. It's just a like.
It does have almost nothing on wead. It's my lowest wead out of all of them. And
you do have to go up and do damage to it, but it stays in the same spot. So you either use Sidon's water and clear a path, or you use splash fruits and clear a path, and then slash the like.
I think if this counts, but like Gleox don't, then we're doing something wrong here. So I think
Gleox
it should be
way cooler. If there were a Gleox
Sidon's water tutorial.
Yeah.
Actually, though, like literally. Whereas like both Moragia and Yunobo are so unique.
There's some fun
where they are. There are several very good redeeming qualities about both of those. Not necessarily that make them good boss fights, but there are very cool things about those boss fights, and there's nothing cool about Sludge Like, in my opinion.
Not even when it eats Sidon?
It eats Sidon? I don't even remember that.
I mean, if you're bad.
Oh.
Corey's too good at the game.
Too good. Sludge Like
if you get really close to it with Sidon, it'll just like gulp him up.
It's not like, I agree with you that battle, like gameplay wise, it's on the same level as Moragia and Yunobo, but it doesn't have any redeeming qualities for me. Whereas those two have things that I think are super cool. Like the fact that you fight a former champion from Breath of the Wild at all, I think is super cool.
Has a wow factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's weird.
The wow. See, and
I have Yunobo.
That's weird.
Out of this world.
Yunobo and Sludge Like got the same score on my thing of 11. Which is low.
Okay.
The two lowest. I would propose that it is the worst. However, I don't know if it's a whole tier below Yunobo.
So do we want to then, how do we feel about Sludge Like and Yunobo and D, and then the ones that just got shifted down shift back up? Like Moragia and C. Yeah, like that. How do we feel about that?
You know what?
I'm in favor of Yunobo going back up, personally. But
I am
there's
too.
Not enough.
Yeah, me too.
Well okay, the three of us outvoted.
Yeah.
So it's going back up.
Only before I was like, yeah, D, but I forgot. I didn't even realize we were going to be ranking Sludge Like. I didn't even remember it existed.
It is a main story boss.
No,
Zero for memorability.
That's why this is like, if you're following the main story and doing the things you have to do, you have to fight this boss.
It's actually the only one that I scored a 1 for memorability. That's the only one.
Yeah.
Like when you said Sludge Like, that's when I realized we were ranking a thing called that.
I think this makes sense then.
Sludge Like.
Yeah, sorry about to everyone. We moved down and then moved back up.
Yeah,
feels
Sludge Like. Sludge Like's card thing is Ambusher of Mifa Court, and like it doesn't do no ambushing, it just sits there.
Everyone's just like, look at that.
What are you doing?
Like,
yeah.
D for distraction?
Dirty.
Yeah, it basically is.
Dirty.
It's just dirty.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty like
whose turn is it?
I don't even know. I think that was Corey's pick.
That was
it?
That was
okay. Well, in that case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left.
We got some bangers.
And most of them are we got some bangers. So let's do just a little boss called how about Colgera? How about this little guy?
This can only go in one tier.
There's only one place that I think we can all agree this guy goes.
C for Colgera.
C for Colgera.
C for cold.
Yes.
So C for chili.
This is the first one on my list because like I did them in order that video you sent was.
Yeah.
And before even like finishing watching the playthrough of it, I was like, okay, 5. Epic 5, musicality 5, memorability 5, we add 5. It got a perfect score for me. And I remember I went back and I watched my gameplay of this, and I look like a child on Christmas morning. Like, finally I'm in Nico's Stormcloud and I'm fighting the big scary boss and the music is incredible and this is like the coolest thing. And then after I beat it, I go, I think that's my favorite Zelda boss ever. And I think I kind of stick to that, in that the lead up to it was so much fun. The boss fight itself is super cool. Obviously we can all agree the music for it is really good. This will always probably be my favorite Zelda boss, which Tears of the Kingdom has fallen out of my top 3 favorite Zelda games, but this will always be my favorite boss fight just because of like the impact it had on me immediately. So I would propose like A tier.
So like B,
like a mid B.
Yeah, not as good as Mucktorok, but
okay. What I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I still like strongly remember like fighting this the first time, just the battle starting, and I was just in awe. And it felt so like every part of the battle feels so good. And this is probably most people's first boss of the game, and it works really well that they use the like skydiving as this is an aerial fight, but it's
a good one.
It's a good one. It's a very good one
because you're not on something.
And diving down and hearing that Dragon Roost Island theme kick in, oh my god, chills, max chills.
Yeah,
this can't go anywhere but S.
Yeah, I like that it's kind of like one of the, I'm trying to think of a better, like there's probably not a better boss or anything that you do like a flying segment around where you're flying through the air. Like Nico or Corey, you actually mentioned Vombeto, that sequence one
slow and tedious, in a way. But yeah.
It's the training for it is pretty fun. The training. Yeah. And I like the idea of it, but it's not that fun. And this one's, it's good because it's like very similar, just in that, you're flying around shooting things or crashing through it. There's a couple different ways you can go about it that already gives it kind of the edge, but then also it's a little bit more involved. It's not like crazy difficult. It's it's good for like, it probably is a lot of people's first boss. Mm-hmm. But it is like it's kind of like way back when Corey and I were talking about all the Wind Waker bosses in the Dungeon Dive series that we did. Like a lot of them aren't necessarily that tough, but they just kind of keep you moving, and like they're like very engaging the whole time.
Keep you on your toes.
There's a couple bosses in this game I think I would put higher, but it's like looking at what we got here, it's S tier for sure. It's one of the best in the game for sure.
Now,
wow, the way it explodes in the end is pretty sick.
Oh yeah, it gets a 10 out of 10 for its anime explosion. Or maybe a 9 out of 10. I think there's one anime explosion that tops it.
Yeah. Nuts.
Oh yeah.
No, that's.
I think a big reason it's my favorite is because, and I mean, Corey, I'm you would agree with me on this. A big Wind Waker fan. It's very much like Wind Waker fan service, the boss. And
yeah,
like you're with the Rito. You're listening to Dragon Roost Island in this epic chorus. You're fighting a new version of Colgera. Like it's
except
it's Wind
instead
Waker
of waiting for it to finish in the air, you're up in the air with it.
Yes. It's like it's everything that I love about Wind Waker thrown into a single boss fight in Tears of the Kingdom. And I think that's why it had such a big impact on me. But I would agree that there are other bosses in this game that are just as good, equally good, in my opinion. But
yeah, it's like the main. It's for sure S tier. The main, besides everything that you all just said, McKenna, the point that you touched on, and Goo, you too, where it's like you are constantly moving. It's so funny that this is an aerial boss fight in the game compared to aerial boss fights in the game that do it so wrong, where like if the sky is inherently open and you don't fall that fast. So it's like there's going to be a lot of hang time. There's going to be a lot of waiting around time. And even though this fight isn't actually that hard, it does an incredible job of making everything feel wild. Like this huge flying serpent-like thing is going through portals different ways. So you kind of have to keep track of it. It comes up underneath you and shoots icicles at you. It makes tornadoes go everywhere. And like
so much stuff.
It makes it feel way more dangerous than it actually is, and I think that's why everyone was like, it's so exciting.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, creep that bad boy up.
Oh yeah,
nice,
good job. I still have to say I love that pre Tears of the Kingdom. We had Nico's Stormcloud that I was so interested in, and I had so many questions, and it turned out to be my favorite boss in the game. Like, how wild!
I think it's really they like blew the whole budget on Colgera. Like all the music, all the special effects.
They're like, that's it, that's a wrap. Oh, we have 7 more bosses to make. Oh crap!
They knew what they were doing though, like making Colgera the boss that you're most likely to fight first. Because like I feel like at this point, when everyone fought Colgera, people were like, "Zelda's back, baby."
They wanted to pull you back.
Nothing like this in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. All right, McKenna. Right? Yeah.
So McKenna picked that one.
Did you just
or did you pick that one, Nico?
I picked it.
You picked.
Yeah.
What was the last thing you picked?
Yeah,
it was a while ago.
There's 8 on here. There's 4 of us, so.
Math be mathin'.
Phantom Ganon.
Ooh, Phantom Ganon.
Oh yeah.
We can just do these in order. Do you guys just want to do these in order?
Yeah, that makes sense.
There we go.
Yes.
Phantom Ganon.
I definitely like that. Like
order.
I can tell you I was going to pick C's Construct next.
Yeah. So. we'll just do it in story order.
At this point, yeah.
All right.
It was such a sick scene for one.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a great scene.
Zelda coming out and being all like
so hard.
But I love the Zelda scene before it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
where she's like,
excellent.
She's being all creepy and she's like popping up all over.
She's like teleporting around the room and is like.
Patricia Summers, fantastic acting, great job.
Yeah,
and then she does like the little like puppet thing, and it's like, ooh, I don't like this.
Ganondorf is like Dracula mode in the cutscene.
Yes,
he just looks giant, like a creepy. Yeah, the fight itself is pretty sick, I think.
Yeah,
it's a cool fight.
It's not like super. Yeah, it's not like super complex or anything, but I think they do an awesome job of the fact that like Phantom Ganon, you get most likely you have fought Gloomhands and you've fought like one of these guys in the overworld, and you know that fighting them by themselves is very scary. And then it's like in this excellent setting, this is like the Phantom Ganon, the actual Ganondorf just talked to you, and this guy pops up and then split like 4 more pop up on the sides, and you're like, oh no. And it also does the thing, like, to keep you on your toes. It does the thing where, like, they all lunge at you at separate times. It's almost like in Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, where, like, you're fighting multiple Dark Nuts at once.
Yeah.
It's not totally crazy hard, but the fact that they're all coming at you at the same time, but they all have different timings, makes it way scarier because you have to keep track of a lot. And it does the thing where, like, the ground turns into, like, Malice and stuff, so you can't, or Gloom, so you can't just stand anywhere.
Yeah, well,
and then it has
what's cool about it is, like, the main guy makes the Gloom.
Yeah.
And so you can choose to fight the minions, but the Gloom will spread, or you could kind of focus on him. So it's kind of got cool, like, decision making.
Plus,
I was like running around fighting the other guys and not realizing that the Gloom was like filling up the room, and then I was like, oh my god, I can't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm like climbing up the room trying to figure out where the main guy was.
Yeah, spooky.
And then you got the sick part where the your friends come in, right?
Sage is coming in, which no matter how many times this happens in this era of Zelda, it's going to make me choke up. I don't know why, but the moment that really got me the first time was playing Age of Calamity when Sidon shows up to save Mipha. I remember like gasping and like crying, and I was like, "What's going on?" And now every time
moment in that game,
and now every single time it happens in these games, I'm like, "No, really?"
Can they do that? Showing up to save you?
They do it like
an emotional
3 times. They do it like 3 times in this game. It's like they're personally attacking me.
They're like, back to the well, Nico's got to cry.
Very sick boss fight. Also, like, there are different phases. He swaps weapons. And the Gloom thing is really freaky. And then it's sandwiched with very good cutscenes.
Yeah, for sure. Is this just like a trick, like a visual trick thing, or is this actually what happens? Because I swear, the second time the 5 of them pop up, they are significantly larger. Like, is that actually true?
So the first time they are regular Phantom Ganon, and then the second time they pop up and they have like longer hair. They're like they look more like Ganondorf.
They skirt,
but they're not like the full Ganondorf versions, right?
Oh,
Pretty sure, or maybe they're just taller.
Visually,
I'm reviewing.
I just remember them being like 25% scaled up.
Or am I just thinking of the actual
like, this is
Demon King battle? Am I thinking of the Demon King battle? Because I know that's what they look like in that.
Yeah, I think that is what you're thinking of. His little doppelgangers, yeah. They still look like the Raggedy Ann Ganon.
He's like, I'm gonna get you, here I come, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he says.
Yeah, they do look, they look a little bigger, don't they? I feel like you, Corey, where I'm like, maybe they just feel.
I can't really tell, but it looks like they're bigger. Yeah. I think
bigger than before.
Are they more like shrouded and shadow like stuff? Is that what it is?
I think they're
maybe juicing. In that do they make more gloom in that phase too?
I don't know.
Okay, what are we rating?
I swear one of them one of them pulls out a gun in the second phase, I think.
S tier. S is gonna get crowded though.
You know what? That's okay.
I'm
okay with S getting crowded.
I would say A, actually.
I think it's way better than both the A guys.
I would agree.
I would be okay with it if we move them to B.
No.
All right, let's put it in S then.
We can have a crowded S. It's okay, you guys.
That's fine.
This game has a lot of S tier bosses.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't think C's construct. I don't dislike this boss, but I don't think it's my favorite.
This is definitely one of my favorites.
Okay.
It's a highlight.
I think it's like another one where it's so Rock'em Sock'em Constructs is so different than like most boss battles in all of Zelda, but it's not the craziest gameplay wise because it's just like you get up to them and block a hit and then hit, and it's fun. But like, I think the strongest part about it is like the atmosphere. So
it
this
can be
one
really challenging if you don't bring the right tools in.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, I don't recall specifically.
And the other one like switches up its tools and like changes to like the electric ones and stuff. I would personally put it in, I think, B or maybe A or B.
I feel like I have a bad opinion on this boss because like it's soured for me, not because of the boss itself, but because I played the game out of order and this was my third boss.
This is also my third boss.
And I don't know, it kind of made me not like it. I don't know. Like I would put it in about B, maybe a low A, but it was just like I felt like it was supposed to be, you know, it was meant to be later in the game. And like this kind of like big reveal, I was a little confused. I didn't know enough of the story yet. And I was like, wait, what's going on? I don't fully get this. And I had my construct and I was just like, okay. And I died a couple times and I was a little frustrated. I was in like a bad mood fighting seized construct. I don't know. Like,
I had a rock in my shoe and it's just...
yeah, it's kind of what it felt like. I don't know. I think it's a cool boss, but it's not my favorite.
It flies.
It does.
It flies now.
They fly now.
Well, actually, what I didn't realize until we were talking about it now is that like the final Kohga fight is already so similar to this, which is kind of a bummer. I kind of wish they didn't do that. I kind of wish it was just the Seized Construct by itself and then Kohga just had his own thing at the end. But like, we already talked very highly about the Kohga thing, and whichever one... I think this version of that kind of fight is more interesting, but it's also... I could see why it would be impacted by like the order you play the game and stuff. I definitely also did this very early.
This is one of the last ones I did, and it was like compared to a lot of the other more engaging bosses. It was like, yeah, that was kind of like a cool, fun gimmick fight, but it doesn't stand out to me as like much as like compared to the other dungeon, whatever, you know, the 4 other ones.
So compared to boss fights. Yeah. Well, like when I finished this boss, I wasn't like, wow, that was a sick boss fight. I was like, oh man, they should make a mini game out of that. Because it's wicked fun, but it's not like a crazy boss or anything, you know?
I don't know. I went into this and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is unique. It's fun. You know, it changes it's like a blight, but like less generic.
It's true. It's got the corruption thing going on.
I think GUI has gotten you too into pro wrestling.
I do really like that it's like it's got a cool story about it because Minoru's like, oh, that's the construct I built forever ago and now it's evil, and I don't know. I could go either way.
Like, yeah, whatever.
I like it better than Marbled Gohma.
I do like it more than Marbled Gohma.
I like it better than Marbled Gohma. I also like it better than Mucktorok.
I
like it better than all the Kohga together?
Than Kohga.
You say you do or don't?
I don't. I could agree with those other ones.
What would you think of placing it between Kohga?
Yeah, I mean, if it's going in A, that's fine. I don't care where it goes in A. Yeah, that could be. It's not S. It's not S.
I'd be cool with A.
Did you put S?
I'd be okay with A.
Okay.
Would you have personally put it in S?
Probably.
Really? That's a surprise to me. I don't know why.
We're all mad.
It's like, I think this is one of the most strong bosses in the game for me. And it's also very fun, but it's not like...
it's got good Wead.
It is. Wead did get a 5 on this guy. Yeah.
It does have strong Wead. But like... I don't know. I kind of wish
still know what Wead is. Wonder, excitement, adventure, discovery. The 4 pillars of Zelda.
Water, energy.
Oh yeah,
affirmation,
water,
density,
earth,
diamonds,
air,
diamonds. Earth, air, diamonds. The 4 elements of Zelda.
Oh my gosh.
This looks good.
Everything changed when the Diamond Nation attacked.
Nothing can cut through us. Okay. Let's move on to Demon King's army, which is this pile of red stuff here.
It just looks like a bunch of malice or gloom, I mean.
It's a bokoblin.
It's like a close-up of a bokoblin, but it's small.
I think this is cool, but it's not a very fun boss fight.
It's another one that feels like a mini boss type thing, similar to...
I feel like it's a less cool version of when the Gibdos invade Gerudo.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's pretty comparable.
Like it's both, they both have like the battle vibe going, but this is just like in an area.
Interesting.
Just kind of generic looking area.
And I mean, you can go do those like raids with what's his bucket?
What's his bucket?
And
the save bring peace to Hyrule. Those
all of those little quests. And that's basically what this is. Which is sort of like a new mechanic they built into their system where it's like hordes are more of a thing. And like NPCs can fight along with you, which is very cool. And I do love that aspect of the game. But this felt just like it's like, the last defense before you get to Ganondorf. Like, it's like they had to put it there.
I feel like maybe if it was more, you were like progressing towards,
like
the
fighting towards the door,
kind of like Skyward Sword when you're like descending.
Yes.
And you're fighting all the bokoblins and other enemies. Like that could have been a great idea.
It's becoming apparent to me that I think I feel the strongly about the most positive about this compared to all of you, because like I think horde battles in general are sick. And I think it's definitely not the same as like a full-blown boss fight like any of the ones that we see in S tier. But I think they're awesome set pieces, and they're still I think this is way, way more challenging than more than half of the battles we have on here right now. And I also think it's more epic than half the battles that we have on here right now.
But it's just
and maybe I'm just a sucker for a good horde battle,
and Lizalfos with an extra layer of defense.
Well, it starts with it comes in waves. No, well, yeah, but that's like hack and slash games. Like that's the whole point. And I think this is the closest an actual Zelda game has ever come to something that actually feels like you're fighting a full blown war against an army, because it's not just you. It is going for a very similar vibe to the horde battles from Skyward Sword where you're going down. But the problem with that is it's like you go down a certain amount and then a wall comes up and then you have to fight like 4 key enemies and then the wall goes down. And then you go to the next phase and then rinse and repeat. And it's like there's literally dozens of all different levels of bokoblins, and once you get through those, Lizalfos start popping out, and then boss bokoblins start coming up, and then Gibdos start coming out, and it's like Ganondorf is literally throwing all of his minions at you. And what I think really sells it is that you have all of your sage friends in the flesh that are like, you turn around and you see like Tulin's fighting bad guys, and like you can read you to your side, and like
and I'm just crying.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a better implementation of that whole like thing they had in Breath of the Wild, where the more bosses you beat, like it helps you out more or whatever. Because in that, it's just like, okay, and then we blast Calamity Ganon with a big laser or whatever. I guess it changes it because then you have to fight the blights, right? But
I mean, here if you don't have the sages, you have to fight the boss here.
Yeah.
Oh,
because the bosses
about that.
After you beat the army, there's a cutscene where the bosses show up, and your friends are like, "Go on, we'll handle this." Colgera flies in.
Where are you falling? Like what?
Well, you know how like you can fight all of them in the it's like in the depths. Again, it's like those battles.
That, actually. Okay.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, like the room that you're in.
No.
Because remember, you fall down. You fall down the whole big thing. There's like a ton of space above you, so like you're in a huge room.
It's
which is kind of hard to tell, but like
from Majora's Mask, then.
Yeah. Kind of.
Okay, well that's cool, but I feel like you feel them more there compared to Breath of the Wild, where they're just like, all right, Link, we blasted the laser on him. Like, you got this. Like, they're actually there fighting. You know, it's a little like, you know, they're not going to be in the end or whatever, but it's like, it's fitting. I definitely like it better than our C ones that are, you know, I mean, they're also kind of more like scripted story battles. Like, I think
definitely
better than that.
I agree. My proposal would be B. That's where I would personally place it anyways, is B tier. Because like it's not a full-blown boss battle, but I do think it's more exciting and more challenging and has some of the strongest we had compared to the bottom half of this list.
You're trying to make a P.
I'm not. I actually think it's B. I like this better
B.
than
I
like this better than Marbled Gohma. I don't like it better than any of the A tiers.
B for better than Marbled Gohma.
I like it.
I'm a sucker for a good horde battle. It's very exciting.
Well, we have 2 heavy hitters left.
Dun, 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 dun.
I think Demon King Ganondorf is the best boss in the game.
That's will not disagree. I mean, it's incredible.
It's in my top 3.
Let's not even talk about
It's in my top 3 for sure.
Just like I like that. Like you don't often. Do you often like? I can't think of a lot of bosses really where it's actually just like one-on-one combat with like a guy, like a sword fight with a guy. That's not like there's like the Dark Nuts and stuff like that. But
Demise is the closest thing to this.
Demise. It's intimate. Yeah.
Demise's boss battle is intimate, and so is this, and I like that a lot.
It's very reminiscent of that.
You know, talks to you during the boss battle.
Mm-hmm. And
most of the other times you get one-on-one sword fight like that are also with Ganondorf, like in Wind Waker and in Twilight Princess. The final phases of the final battles of those games.
Yep.
It's not really like this, but it was like the closest thing I can think of to like fighting like a Dark Souls boss, where I was like, it's not, there's not that much of that, but there is a little bit of like, especially when he uses your move against you, the bullet time or whatever.
Terrible.
And so like, I thought like, I was kind of like, I think I might have beat him my first try, but it did feel a little bit like.
No, I think you beat him your second try.
Was it second?
I remember watching. I think it took you one try.
I died during this.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Then I think I like that because it's
tough.
I think in the grand scheme of like video game bosses, it's probably not the hardest, but I like that it. You know, I didn't get
for Zelda. It's pretty dang tough.
Zelda, where I had to like be like, okay, hold on, I got to get this timing right, and then I like, you know, figured that out, and that it was like very satisfying to figure that out.
I got really good at the first portion of this.
Oh yeah,
I fought him multiple times.
Yeah,
I did not bring enough like sunny meals.
Yeah,
so
Sunny
I was much lower on hearts than I was used to being. I definitely, I know I had less than 2 bars, and it was like fairly far over, I think. So like the second part, third part, depending on how you divide it up, was pretty challenging. Definitely had to really think and strategize with this battle.
You do, yeah.
It's tough. It's a toughie. This is like
the
I want to
health bar made me cackle.
It is the funniest thing Nintendo has ever done. When they're like, "What if the health bar just went like all the way over there?"
I thought it was gonna keep wrapping around the other side.
Like fill up the whole screen.
That was crazy.
It just starts getting layers to it. It just keeps going.
Oh, and in I forgot, in the first part, it does incorporate the Phantom Ganon part where he's got his homies, but you've got your homies. So
yes,
and
then he like knocks him out.
That's the second part.
Yeah, after your initial one-on-one with him, your buddies come in to help fight along with the Phantom Ganondorfs. And then he does that like power surge thing and knocks them all out, and they're all like, "Oh no, what's going on?" And
that's really cool. Like it does make them more. They're more involved than I fully remembered, and that's kind of cool because it pays it off. But then it still requires you. I like it goes back to one-on-one though. You know, I do.
Yeah, it's good storytelling.
Okay.
So,
it's S tier. It's S tier.
Yeah, of course.
S-tier.
I'm good. Doggy doing doggy things.
Dog mom stuff.
All right, I want to dog mom stuff. I want to emphasize, which we didn't touch on this in the horde battle, but like. The presentation of this entire sequence from the horde battle up to the very end is, I think, the best ending sequence in Zelda, in my opinion. I think it's incredible, and a huge part of the presentation of this boss battle specifically is the music. It is done so well. It blows my mind. I love that this starts and you get Ganondorf. He's ready. He says the line from the big trailer, and it's like, oh, he said the thing. And then it's just like one-on-one sword fight, you and Ganondorf, and it's like dead silent. And you're like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. This is so scary. And then like a very slow like a little tiny like
so much build up.
Drum tinkles come in.
Cool vibe, yeah.
And then you get past that point and he's like, ooh, I had the thrill. All of the in-betweens have sick cutscenes where he has sick lines, and then he snaps his fingers and he activates big old Demon King Ganondorf, and the music gets crazy, and it does the health bar thing, and then like your friends come in and it's all wild, and then after that he has that little like, all right, I'm fed up moment, and he does his little blast thing and blows everyone to the side, and then looks at you and just goes like,
yeah.
Like, come on.
Best ending.
He's like, hey, donkey, you're coming with me.
This is for sure.
I think,
in my opinion,
you're forgetting about a little gnome man at the end of Zelda 2.
You're very. That's true. That little guy is one of the top tier. We should rank the little guys in Zelda.
Best little guys. They have like 1,000 things on the tier.
No, but that like the phases of this fight are, I think, awesome and challenging, and they're presented so well, and they're tied in with the music and story so well, and like finishing it, the lore, Ganondorf's like lore of like what we know about this Ganondorf, it mentions that like he's a master of all weapons and he's like super good at combat, right?
He shows it off,
and it's crazy that for the first time, when you do your catch-all, I win now, like bullet time flurry rush thing, and he does it back to you, it's like, what in the world is going on?
And like losing hearts is
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he can make you lose heart containers, not like
permanently
lower, like permanently lose them, which is nuts. And also ties into like what happens to you at the beginning of the game.
Yes, exactly.
That's clearly a thing that he can do.
Wow, this is a good boss battle.
Yeah, it's very good.
Wow.
S tier for sure.
I'm gonna go S tier.
Possibly the best in this game.
And it's
definitely
funny
top 3 for me.
because you look at the end of Tears of the Kingdom compared to the end of Breath of the Wild, how you walk into, Breath of the Wild, you walk into the throne room or whatever, and the ending just kind of starts. And if you've done everything, big laser, half health, it's like, what's the point of this? And then you go and you poke a giant dog and the game is over. And in this one,
poke a giant dog.
In this one, you have the most difficult lead up going through the depths to even get to Ganondorf is so hard. Like the maze of enemies you have to get through. And then you go down, you find Zelda's torch, and you cry a little bit. And then you go down and you fight the army. And then you go through the door and you fight Ganondorf. And you're like, wow, we're finally here. We're fighting Ganondorf. It's the end of the game. Amazing. And then he eats his secret stone. And you're like, gosh, dang it. How did we not? Yeah, he shoves his entire arm into his mouth. And it's like, how... I still am baffled that I did not realize that this is what was going to happen. Somehow I never connected that, even though I knew it was going to happen, like deep down. I never made that connection.
It's like we've talked about the story of this game, but something you've said I think is so true is like people talk about, oh, you could tell Zelda was going to do the draconification. Like, sure. That's definitely possible, but like that's not what it was teeing up for. That was actually teeing this moment up. Like this was the payoff of that.
Yeah. You knew Zelda was going to draconify. You didn't know that Zelda and Ganondorf were going to have a dragon battle. That you're
dragon battle in the sky.
I don't think anybody saw that coming. Honestly,
the most anime thing in Zelda, just a dragon battle in the sky.
Supposed to figure out that Zelda is going to become a dragon.
Yeah. Big time.
People complain about stuff being out of order, which
we've gone over that.
Yeah, it don't matter.
But we've said enough about that. But you're supposed to figure it out.
Yeah, 100%.
You're supposed to demon dragon.
This is the big tease that they're leading up to.
It's not as good as Demon King Ganondorf.
I would agree, but I still gave them both perfect scores.
I do think that if you're going to go as difficult as you do for Demon King Ganondorf, difficult as far as Zelda games go, that it's totally okay to do a final form that is easy and just kind of a
epic.
Maybe. Not
very atmospheric, you get a moment to like process, like you're floating above Hyrule, like you want to be able to just take a moment and take it in. This did not need to be difficult at all.
Well, it just needs to be
the first things
like Colgera, like engaging, and unlike if you compare it to Dark Beast Ganon, which I think is just horrible.
The worst.
It's like this is like a total opposite of that. It's not the easiest thing in the game, but it's definitely easier. But it's still like you got to dodge things, and it's epic. And if you actually do the fight right, it's fun. I remember I was like shooting it with arrows. Remember that was kind of dumb.
I did too. That's how I beat it. I don't know. I felt silly.
Yeah, but no, it's really cool. It's a cool set piece. Sorry, Corey, I cut you off.
I think this is literally what this whole ending thing is like what Breath of the Wild was trying to do, but this is it so much better. It's just tied in so much better. It's way more exciting. It's even more cinematic and crazy than Dark Beast Ganon. And like the fact that you start this game, you dive off of the Sky Island, the title card pops up, and the thing that you see in the background is the light dragon, Zelda. And it's like there's the whole dragon's tears, and the dragons have such a big emphasis. And then the final battle is Dragon Zelda, Dragon Ganondorf, and Link. And the only thing I wish is that it didn't necessarily. I always would rather a lot of Zelda boss fights be harder, but like that's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I do wish it were a little bit more involved gameplay wise, but it's at the same time, it's also like I can kind of forgive it because we did also just get Demon King Ganondorf, so it's like. Yeah. But I think in terms of like aerial gameplay battles, I think Colgera is better. But this is definitely way more epic.
Yeah.
Or for a story.
This is like a notch below like just fun factor, just a notch, I think, but it's like a notch above in like epicness, I think.
Yeah, so. It's like a 6 out of 5 in epic. Two giant dragons fighting each other, and you stab it in the face. Like,
see, that's like epic when it starts. Like, there's a part when like Demon Dragon like almost chomps Zelda.
Yes.
And I was thinking like these two dragons are gonna be like biting each other, and I was like, how sick would it be if like you're on Zelda's head and like get to control her a little bit, and like and like ride her into the other dragon and like
shoot him with a light laser beam.
Like a phase
honestly,
1 and
why
2
not?
thing
Like,
could have been cool.
Yeah. I kind of wish they did something more like that instead of just, all right, get on the dragon and then hit the thing and then.
Sure.
But it is still crazy epic.
It exposes the eyeballs and then you do the diving onto it. Yeah. Sure.
It was just
I like at the very last one when like all the little things on its back are done and you have to get the secret stone on its head, the whole sky turns like blood red and it's like terrifying. It's like the end of the world is happening.
It's just epic.
They
did everything could to make it as anime and epic as they could, and they really went all out.
Yeah, probably like B.
Yeah, like a low B.
Low B. Yunobo is pretty cool though.
Yeah. Okay. Right below Yunobo. No, like probably as far as like story wise, and just not just story for this, but just their style of storytelling. This is like the coolest final boss in a Zelda game. As far as like, they're just like,
sick.
Hey, you already did the hard part, but do you want to go fire on some dragons? It's like, yes. Like, it's
ever like
so good.
You ever like, I don't know how much anime you all have watched, but I think this also happens in like any story or something running, like a long running show where like there's like powers. They get to a point where it's like, this is the thing that has the most power.
Yeah.
And then they beat it. And then like the next season, it's like, but this is the thing that actually has the most power.
Yeah.
It's like the
Dragon
scale
Ball.
creep thing.
That's just how anime
for all
works.
of the, yes. For all of the crazy epic stuff that they've presented in Zelda, I feel like this feels so much more like world is ending, crazy, like all powerful things are happening than most of the stuff we've encountered in the series.
I would agree.
Which is very cool. And then there's the most anime explosion in the entire series.
I love watching people's reactions to seeing that for the first time because it's so over the top.
You mean like Ganondorf just gets deleted from the series?
I mean, they've been making bosses explode for years. I mean, that's just a classic now.
Mm-hmm. They've done many cool explosions, and this was like
that. Wow. Well, So what are we thinking? Like a little.
That should be an S probably too. Or I don't know. Put it next to Sludge Like. See how we like it.
Let me make this look a little nicer for y'all. Oh no, not like that.
Yeah, I like this.
I'll make it look good. Look. There we go.
Yeah, that's a good visual. Actually, it's like a pyramid of good
pyramid
bosses.
Scheme of Tears of the King bosses.
Tears of the Kingdom had good bosses.
Yes. Yeah, I think almost could have had it going up by a step.
Huge step up from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time. And I mean, like we did mention it, but we didn't include the mini bosses. But you know, we kept classics like the Hinox and the Molduga. But we'll
have to. Yeah.
We also got some.
We'll have to do those.
Leox.
I think that should be our next one. We should do the overworld bosses. Right? Or like, overworld bosses.
You got the Taluses, the battle Taluses, the Froxes. Mm-hmm. New guys Froxes.
Gotta love the Frox. The Flux dudes.
Flux constructs, yeah.
Okay, I think we owe the people a tier of that, so I think we should book that.
Got it for you.
All right, sweet.
For you, the listener.
Wow. Well, I like this tier. I'm happy with this.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see. We're gonna do those overworld bosses. Until then, have a good one.
Don't explode into anime cloud. Bye-bye.
Bye.